What's up, people? Today we have part 1 of the Beyblade X competitive tier list. In this first part, we will be putting the bits into tiers. Before we start, let's get a few things out of the way. First of all, these are all based on my own testings and aren't definitive. Second, just because a bit is in B tier doesn't mean it can never beat one in S tier. These tiers are based on how much skill is needed, and its general consistency. Now, let's start off with starting us off in F tier, we have the Spike bit. Spike is an absolute joke. It combines the worst of Needle and High Needle together into one. It has bad stamina like Needle, and it has worse KO resistance like High Needle. This ultimately makes a useless and quite awful bit that has no competitive use at all. The next one in F tier is Metal Needle. This isn't because of competitive prowess at all, rather either the fact that this part ruins your stadium. The sharp metal rip on this bit can poke holes in the stadium, making this bit earn its spot in F tier. Next we have the Quake bit in D tier. This bit is very fun, however not practice for an attack type. This bit has the ability to jump, which actually hurts the Bey. Since it jumps, it is more likely for the opponent to hit its ratchet to cause a burst. However, Quake isn't an F tier, because you could get some wins if you use this on Phoenix or Shark. Next, we have Gear Ball. This bit is very strange, being a stamina bit that is focused on extreme dash attacks. Next is the Gear Ball bit. This is a strange case, because I think this bit can be good if used correctly, but learning how to use this bit is strange. It can have very good stamina like Ball or Orb, and can even land good attacks in stamina fights. However, this has two major weaknesses. 1, it's hard to control, and 2, it has terrible burst resistance. This makes the bit extremely hard to use, but it does have a bit of potential, so it goes in D tier. First in C tier, the Gear Flat bit. This bit technically has the best raw attack power, but it is super hard to control. Either it will extreme dash into the extreme zone, or it will fly off of the extreme line, and into the wall. Furthermore, Gear Flat has very awful stamina. However, if you can master this bit, then you'll be able to hit very hard with some intense speed, earning its spot in C tier. Next is the Needle bit. This bit has solid defense, but nothing extraordinary. It has pretty bad stamina too. All of those reasons just make it kind of a mediocre part. Also in C tier, we have Gear Needle. This part is super strange, being pretty similar to Needle, except focused on extreme dash attacks. However, unlike Gear Ball, Gear Needle actually doesn't self-KO as much because it stays in the center a lot. Like Needle, it has solid defense and bad stamina. Once again, making it a mediocre bit. This may be controversial, but Ixel also belongs in C tier. My reasoning is similar to Gear Flat, that being for its inconsistent and hard to control nature. Since this bit has 16 gear spokes instead of the usual 12, it has a bunch of speed and power to it. Just like Gear Flat, Ixel has the issue of self-KO and not writing the extreme line correctly sometimes. All of this lands it in C tier. Finally, we have the Disc Ball bit. You could get this part to work, however it's weirdly inconsistent. For starters, it's way taller than other bits, making this very easy to burst. Second of all, it has similar, if not worse, stamina compared to Ball and Orb. Again, this bit can work on things like Wizard Rod, but it's just kinda average. Next is B tier. Our first bit is High Needle. It's very similar to Needle, except it has better stamina, and just slightly less defense. This in my opinion is a good trade-off, making High Needle a solid bit. Next is Dot, another defense type bit. It's the same shape as regular Needle, except it has these dots all over it. This bit is pretty much the same as High Needle. It has solid stamina and solid defense, overall making this a good bit. Finally, we have Gear Point. This bit is a faster and harder to control version of regular Point. However, it is still pretty reliable on attack type combos. However, it has a huge quality control issue. Some gear points will have the ball in the middle more or less exposed, so be sure to test yours first before making any decisions to use it in a tournament or any competitive event. Next is A tier. Our first bit here is Flat. Flat is a standard attack type bit that has good speed and power, while not being the hardest to control. With most attack type bits, you need to be careful about self-knockouts while riding the extreme line. This bit will usually ride the extreme line very well, landing it in A tier. Next is Low Flat. This is a slightly shorter and slightly faster version of regular Flat. As for which flat is better between the two, it really depends on the blade you use. Low flat is better for things like Shark Edge and Dran Buster, while flat is good for anything else. Both of these bits are great attack type bits though. Also in A tier we have Unite. This is a very odd bit, but good nonetheless. This bit has higher speed and stamina than the taper bit for sure, making this useful for things like Phoenix Wing. Where this part starts to lose its flair is when it rides on the extreme line. Instead of heading for the center of the stadium, it will fly out into the pocket. This is why you always must launch anything on Unite at an angle. If you don't, then it will knock itself out. Even though it has a high skill level, this part still belongs in A tier because of what it can do. Finally in A tier, we have the Cyclone bit. This is very similar to flat, being a decently fast bit with a good amount of control. I'd even argue that it has slightly more control than regular flat. Furthermore, it has the exact same stamina as flat, making this a great attack type part for competitive use. Now we have S tier, which belongs to the best of the best bits in Beyblade X so far. First, we have Hexa. Without the release of Wizard Rod, this bit would probably be a forgotten bit like High Needle. However, on Wizard Rod, this part is turned into an indestructible tank. This combo has unbeatable co-resistance, good stamina, and is overall a menace to any attack type facing it. Hexa is also very solid on Tyranno beat as well. This is why Hexa is in S tier, mostly thanks to Wizard Rod, and how broken it is. Next is Taper. Although being slightly slower than bits like flat, it has phenomenal stamina for a bit this mobile. Taper paired with blades like Phoenix Wing, Shark Edge, or Tyranno beat are combos that shouldn't be taken lightly. All of this lands this bit firmly in S tier. Point also belongs here. This bit has great stamina, great speed, and great control. This bit is a must for competitive players no matter what. Now for the two stamina bits at the top of the meta. Ball and Orb are virtually the same, however Orb does have slightly less KO resistance than Ball, but they have the same stamina. There really isn't much that needs to be said with these bits. They have the best stamina in the game, and can outspin anything. Finally in S tier we have Rush. Rush is the first, and currently only bit to have 10 gears instead of the usual 12. The decreased amount of gears actually make this bit slower on the extreme line, but it doesn't really lose any sense of power at all. It almost moves like a bullet in slow motion. It still retains the destructive power of most attack type bits, but now it's easier to control. It's very hard to self-KO with Rush, making it very powerful on heavy blades like Cobalt Dragoon and Phoenix Wing. And with that, we conclude the Beyblade X bit tier list. Make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know your opinions in the comments below. Do you think anything should be in a higher or lower tier? Do you have any interesting combo recommendations? Then let me know in the comment section. That's it for now, and I'll see you in the next one.